Hi, back again, and this is lecture, lost count, lecture 4. We're now going to be looking at something which I discovered just over a year ago. So since I've been going since 2001, that's quite near. So this is one of my more recent discoveries. I've been writing a book on the circle, which is almost finished, and it actually started off with this gematria. I thought once I found this gematria there must be something more to write, and indeed there was. And the book on circle, it's called the Magic of the Circle, goes into crop circles, goes into stone circles, it goes into objects that are circular. There's quite a few things, but the first thing I started off with was the following discovery. I thought, if I take the word circle and I write it in a circle, what would it produce? So we're going to do that. We're going to look at the circle. So it always goes wrong. Pick it up like that. There. Fantastic. So we have a circle. And we're going to write the word circle in that circle, or around that circle. I shall try a different colour. Try a green, no, orange. So circle, what I'm going to do is actually, before I do that, is I'm going to draw a hexagon. So down there. There. Okay. So now I'll write my stuff. I'll do it in red. C-I-R-C-L-E. Okay. First, which I forgot to show you, is that we're going to find the large value of the word circle. So let me do that here. C-I-R-C-L-E. C is 56. I is 42. R is 73. C is 56. L is 87. And E is 42. Remember, the large values are worked out from taking A is 1 and the wood. 1 is 34. C is 3, the third letter, and 3 is 56. Look at my previous lectures if you haven't done so, and you will see what the large values are. If I add all this together, I will get the number 356. Okay, so I'm looking at now the circle, the word circle in a circle, and I'm going to write by each letter the placement value. Okay, C is 3, I is 9, 18. And now I'm going to add these up according to their opposite numbers, opposite letters. So I get 3 and 3 will give me 6. I get 5 and 18 is 23. And I get 12 and 9, which is 21. Okay? Now I work out what is the placement value of each one of these letters. 21, which would be the letter U. 21 is 141. 23, which should be a W, is the 23rd letter. And 23 is 163. And 6, which is the letter F, will give us 52. And now I add those three numbers together, and I get 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 2 is 6, so I've got 6. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 5 is 15. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. What have I done? I've got the same number as I had with the circle for the large value. And what I've done is I've added up the placement values opposite each other, which you can only spot if you write in a circle. You can't see it otherwise. And I've worked out the placement value corresponding to these letters. And they gave me exactly the same number, 356. Not only that, but if I add up the digits here, we've got 23. And it's called, in Hebrew, the Misbah Katan, the small value. It's used in numerology. Numerology uses the small value. I think I mentioned in my first lecture, which is also used in Hebrew gematria, and I use it on the odd occasion in English, especially when it gives you something which is so spectacular as this. 2 and 3 is 5, 2 and 1 is 3, and the 6 stays the 6. And I've got exactly the same number. I've got 3, 5, 6 again. And I've got that 3 times now. I've got 356 3 times. Does the number 356 got any significance to it? It took me a while to think about that, and I was thinking in terms of pi. I have a slide show on pi. It's called High Pi, or no, it's called Pi in the Sky. So in that slideshow, I examine the number pi and show some very interesting things which you can't see without gematria. But if I write down pi, which is 3.1415, and it goes on 9, I think 3, and it goes trillions and trillions of decimal places, it doesn't end. But in my slideshow, I show where pi is in the Bible to 4 decimal places. It's in the Bible twice. It's right in the very first verse of the Torah. The very first verse, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Inside that verse is hidden the number pi to 4 decimal places. In fact, I can show it goes up to actually to I think 9 decimal places in the first couple of verses. But in the first verse, you've got the first 4 decimal places. And it's also in the story of King Solomon, where he makes what is called the Sea of King Solomon. It's referred to as the Molten Sea. And in that, he makes this very big hemisphere. We'll look at that in a minute. But pi is hidden there as well. So we look here, we've got the number 356. And if you look at your digits of pi, you've got 1 and 4, which is 5, and 1 and 5, which is 6. You've got 3, 5, 6. So, in a way, 356 is an expression of pi itself. And it's like that this number breaks up into 2. It breaks up into, this one breaks up into 2, and this number breaks up into 2. So, that's the story where I want to show you of the circle. Just very briefly, I'll show you. If you look in the Book of Kings, chapter 1, Book of Kings 1, chapter 7, you'll find the story of the Sea of King Solomon, and it's also brought in the Book of Chronicles. The same story, in fact, exactly the same words. The description of the building of the temple of King Solomon is brought there, and when it comes to building of the making of this molten hemisphere of brass, or bronze, it's basically the same words except for one. There's one word which is different in the two passages, and that word is crucial. Let me just rub this off. King Solomon builds this, or has it built, this molten sea. I should actually show you that first of all. I haven't showed you Hebrew gematria yet, but I'll just introduce you a little bit of it. in Hebrew, the word C is yam. The letter Yud, we have a system in Hebrew which is what is the most used system. Misper Regalim may be translated as the regular values. I translate it as the normal values because I use NV when I deal with this system. And it's really like a decimal system. You go out the letters, and again I'll show you this. We'll do this next lecture about the normal values, where A goes up to I is 9, and then you get to J is 10. Instead of going to K, which is 11, you go K is 20. You go up in 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You get to S is 100, and then ST will be 200. You get to Z is 800. Okay, that's normal values. In Hebrew, the letter Yud would be 10, and the Mem is 40, and that gives you 50. In English, the word circle, which I put down the values before, 3, 9, 18, 3, 12, and 5, they're the placement values, and you get 50. So there's a connection between the yam, which is a circle. It is a hemisphere. And the passage tells us that it's 10 amas. Amas translated as a cubit. Cubit is what they would say from here to here in ancient Israel. 10 cubits across and 30 cubits around. And it talks about the line that goes around. It calls it a line. It's called a kav. In the Book of Kings, the word kav is spelled with an extra hay. That letter there is a hay. And that's not necessary because the word kav means a line. In the Book of Chronicles, it's spelled just kav. So the word that's different between the two passages is this word kav, line. Now, if you want to know whether a line can go around, well, again, we'll talk about that in the next lecture when we talk about the normal values. But here, we'll use the normal values of Hebrew, and we'll show you charts of that some other time, where Kuf is 100, Vav is 6, and He is 5, gives you 111, and Kuf and Vav is 106, 100 plus 6, and if I take the number 3, because pi, according to what's given in the description, will give you a value of the circumference divided by the diameter will be pi. And that will be 30 divided by 10, which is 3. That's quite a crude value for pi. And you'll find in some history books where it talks about the history of pi, it will talk about the Bible giving a crude value for pi, which is worse than the Egyptian value at the time. And it would seem that King Solomon wasn't quite as wise and clever as what the Bible says he is. But that's not the case, because King Solomon knew better. The two words of kav, these two numbers here, if you take I might just rub this off now, give you a bit of room. If you take those two numbers, 111, and divide it by 106, and then multiply your answer by 3, you'll get pi to 4 decimal places. And that's very accurate. To make anything that of any certainly of this size here, 4 decimal places is amply accurate. And that's the most accurate. If that's what Solomon used, and what Solomon knew, that's more accurate than what the Egyptians knew at that time. My slideshow goes into that a bit more. So, okay, we've talked about circle, a bit about pi, and we will next lecture go into another system, the normal value, which is used in Hebrew, and I borrowed it from the Hebrew into the English, and we'll see if that has a significance as well. Thank you for listening. Do give me a like, and please comment if you want to, any suggestions, and we'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much. Be well.